listening to the Literary Entrepreneur Podcast, episode 19. Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Literary Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Tower Moody, and today I decided to go back into a past interview that I did, which was actually a Google Hangout I did with fellow literary entrepreneur Sharon C. Jenkins. And so we're going to find out what an authorpreneur is and how she came about that terminology. She has a lot of things going on as far as services that she does for authors, and so I'm really excited to put this podcast out so that you can hear how you can also work with Sharon Jenkins. And I'm so excited to be able to invite and talk to you today with our guest, Ms. Sharon Jenkins. She is known online as the Master Communicator. So we're going to be talking to her in just a few minutes about where did she get that name from. Also, we'll be talking to her about her business, which is the Master Communicator Writing Services. We were talking a little while ago about some of the services she's doing. Sharon, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So Sharon, I want you just to start off, just tell us a little bit about yourself so that people can get a little bit of an idea of who Sharon Jenkins is.
Well, I'm a Virginia native living in Houston, Texas. I have 4 grandchildren. You notice I told you that almost first. 3 girls and 1 boy. I love being a grandma. Yay!
Oh, wow.
And also, of course, I own my own business, MC Writing Services, Master Communicators Writing Services, and I just fully transferred out of the public sector, private sector last year because I just want to help authors.
Oh, you're awesome. Awesome. So you just transitioned out of working, so you're full-time with your business now, Master Communicator Writing Services?
Yes. Yes.
So this was kind of something you did on the side for a while? How did it start? How did you start your business?
Actually, it's been a passion of mine since I've been 8. But you have seasons in your life. But that was one of the only things that was consistent, the writing. I started out writing poetry, and then I wrote plays, and then I went and I wrote books, nonfiction books, but I love fiction. So that's the next thing on my list. But I've had an opportunity over the last few years to really get involved in the literary industry. I've done some editing, I've done some author coaching, I've done some ghostwriting, I've done a whole bunch of stuff. But one of my biggest equipping fields was when I worked for a marketing communications company, one of the largest marketing and communications companies in Houston for 3 years as their editor. And I learned so much. You could give me a subject and 3 lines, and girl, I could write you an article.
Wow. Okay. Well, I see where this title, the Master Communicator, comes from. When did that actually start to, did someone just call you that one day, or how did that title come about?
I was in prayer one day, and I was trying to establish my brand. I would say a good 10 years ago, I was trying to establish my brand. And I was like, well, what can I call myself? And then I kind of let it go because I figured I'd bump into it one day. Well, I distinctly felt in my spirit that the Lord was saying, you are the Master Communicator. And in Christian circles, you are the masters, plural, not plural, but apostrophe S, communicator. It's because people can relate to that. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Oh, well, that's a good story. I like it. So let's go back to your business a little bit. So what are some of the services that you help authors with?
Well, actually, the ghostwriting, the editing, and the marketing. We help authors from content creation clean through publishing. And are we a publishing company? No. If you decide that you want to self-publish and you want to become your own publishing company, we help you do that. If you want to hook up with a publishing company, we're working now with 2 publishing companies, working with, I make suggestions and push people over to Morgan James or Ellicar with Rochelle Carter. And I've known these 2 companies to be companies of integrity. And that's why I feel comfortable recommending them. But I get in the trenches with my authors, with the businesses that we support, because I have business clients also. I do website content, and actually I'm doing a new website launch for one of my business customers. So you ought to stop by. It's going to be crazy. We're going to have a lot of fun. And then also, I work with nonprofits. I do a little grant writing, but I have a certified grant writer on my team. And by the way, I do have a team. I have editors on my team. I have graphic designers on my team. I even have a young lady on my team who has a team of translators. So if an author wants their book in another language, send it to me. We'll get it translated into another language. And
Awesome.
not just Spanish, but Chinese, Italian, French, you name it, we can do it. So those are some of the services that we offer. And then I want to make sure that I share with your audience that we do project management, literary projects. We don't, how can I say it? We don't have a cookie cutter approach when we work with an author. We literally get in the trenches with the author and work through whatever it is that they need us to help them work through in regards to grasping and understanding of how to market themselves. And technically, a lot of people say, well, you've never been on the New York Times bestselling list. And I tell them that over the last 6 to 8 years, I've been a student of authors. If I could get a master's degree and a PhD in authors because of the time that I've spent studying authors and understanding the ups and the downs of being an author. And one of the things that makes me unique is I'm committed to your purpose. I'm committed to your dream. And I'm especially, if I may, I'm especially committed I'm committed to all of my authors, but especially when it comes to inspirational writers. And let me tell you why. I look at the Bible and I see that it has withstood the test of time. And it is still ministering and speaking life to people. So I recognize the fact that if you're a Christian author, you're on a mission. And your book is your mission project. It is the thing that gets your message out to whoever it is that needs to be ministered to. So I recognize the importance of equipping authors, especially inspirational authors, Christian authors, faith-based authors, to write their story or get their message out, because they are just like the writers of the Bible, David and Peter and Paul and Matthew. They are and Moses. They are just like those writers. They bring a relevant word for the particular time and season that they live in. And that will probably leave a literary legacy years down the road, 100 years, 200 years, 3,000 years. People will be picking up what they've written, and they'll be inspired, and they'll fall in love with Jesus.
Awesome. Wow. Well, I can imagine your clients really do appreciate you, because you sound like you definitely are in their corner. And I was talking to you earlier. I definitely, I write fiction and nonfiction, but I feel that opportunity to be able to minister through characters with those books. So I am so appreciative of you having that passion for authors. Which brings me into another question, because you also have this other word. I think you might have been the first person I heard use this word, and that is the word authorpreneur or authorpreneur. So tell me, what does that word mean? And then tell me a little bit about how did that come about? And I know you have a book about it too, so tell us about that book.
Well, Authorpreneur is someone who practices the business of writing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are an author and you do marketing, if you're in charge of your own personal distribution of your book, if you're actively seeking an agent or a traditional publisher, you are practicing authorpreneurship because you are looking to make money or to get your message out to the masses. And the reason why you do that is because you are a business. You are just like the mom and pop convenience store at the corner or the major corporation who produces widgets. You, as an author, in order to do more than just write your manuscript, if you want to sell it, if you want to give it away to get your message to the masses, you must put a business mindset on. So,
yes, definitely.
I'm excited about the fact that writers are beginning to understand that concept even more and more. And one of the reasons why I came up with that concept, and there was one or two people before me, by the way.
Okay.
But one of the reasons why I embraced that concept is because it would be in business networking meetings, and they would ask all the business owners to stand up, and the authors would sit down. And I was like, "Your business, embrace it." And so I felt that there was this huge paradigm shift where we needed to educate authors on the fact that you might write a good story, but if only my dear reads it and your children read it, then it hasn't really served its purpose. And some people do write just for their families. But if you really have a burning message, or you have this character that keeps talking to you in the midnight hour, you got to write, girlfriend. You got to write.
Yes, you must write, because they won't leave you alone if you don't. Well, awesome. So, and let me see. So your title of your book is Authorpreneurship. It's Authorpreneurship. Let me make sure, because I wrote it down. Authorpreneurship builds a successful business as an author. And that came out this year?
Yes, actually it did. It's actually the second edition. The first edition was Authorpreneurship, the business of writing, because you have to tell people what something is and show them the examples. And I have case studies in the book about the different authors who are practicing authorpreneurship in the first book. And in the second book, I poured out all the things that I've observed that authors need to know over the last 8 years as I've studied them. There's a piece in there about time management. There's a piece in there about discovering your publishing personality based on the 4 temperaments: sanguine, choleric, melancholy, and phlegmatic. I mean, if you have tendencies, you may want to self-publish. Like, I am a choleric, and I like being in control, and I like being powerful. So I might need to self-publish because that's my personality. And I kind of come to that conclusion. I'd never say no to a traditional publisher, but I like being in control of my book project because it empowers me. And it's a learning process that allows me to teach others.
Okay. Well, good. So if anyone's kind of stuck, because I was stuck in the middle for a while. I wasn't sure when I finished my first book whether should I self-publish it or try to go for a traditional publisher. So I actually sat on my book for like 2 years. I didn't do anything with it. But God kind of nudged me along, and I went to this conference, a retreat, and I pitched the book to publishers and editors. So that's how my story took place. But I think I would encourage people. I've never heard about the personalities. That does probably play a really important role in how you should go about publishing. Because sometimes I know when I work with authors too, You definitely do have to have a mindset, that business mindset that you're talking about. And sometimes you may need someone else to do it for you. So self-publishing may not be for you. So, or if you're not really willing to put yourself out there marketing wise, you may need some help or to hire a publicist or someone to help guide that process. So I hope people will go out and definitely get that book. Is it like a quiz that you have it set up in there? Or how does,
Absolutely.
okay.
And then there's a piece in there where you analyze your financial resources to do your book project.
That's very
So
important.
it's a great tool for authors, and if anybody's interested, they can go to my book therapy and order it.
Okay,
And the online version,
mybookTherapy.com.
yes,
Okay,
mybookTherapy.com, and the online version is on Amazon.
okay. Well, awesome. I definitely want to encourage people to go out and check out your personalities. I might have to download that. Make sure I'm doing the right thing. Talk a little bit about platform building, because I think with authors, they after they write the book,
Hmm.
there's this area where you need to make people aware that you've
Hmm.
written a book. So, and you've done the Blog Talk Radio show. You're about to do a Google Hangout show. How would you say, how much importance is it to really kind of have an online presence these days when you are trying to become an author, market a book? How important is that?
It's critical. I just spent about 60 minutes talking to an author who's trying to wrap his mind around the fact that you got to do social media. It used to be an option. You could
Mm-hmm.
establish an offline presence and you could sell tons of books because you would go around the country speaking. But
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, when people want to know who you really are, they Google you. And if
Mm-hmm.
you aren't in certain places, you won't get the gig. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
have a certain number of followers, there's so many variables. So it's absolutely critical for you to have a platform. And one thing that I've grown to love and to learn, even though 8 out of 10 people in America want to write books, some people don't have the courage. They say about 25% of those people will actually write a book. So if you see a lot of people saying that they wrote a book and you think that the market is saturated, people haven't read your story. They haven't read or seen your heart poured out in paper and you on
Mm-hmm.
paper, and you may be the story that they're waiting for. One of the things
Mm-hmm.
that I want to share with your listeners, your viewers, is the fact that the very first book I did was called Songs of Three Sisters, and two other ladies and myself co-authored a book of poetry. And that particular book was shared with someone as a Christmas gift. And then the young lady came home because she was in New Jersey and came back to Houston. And the beautiful thing about it, she gave those books away for Christmas gifts. When she went back, she asked one of the admin assistants if she liked the book. And the girl
Mm-hmm.
said, I was contemplating suicide, but I read
Mm.
your book and I changed my mind. So the
Oh,
moral of the
wow.
story is if I just co-authored that book to help that young lady make a different choice, it's been all of it's been worth it. And I tell that story not to celebrate us, but to celebrate the fact that authors have power. Really,
Mm-hmm.
authors can change the face of the nation. Our voices are so loud and we think that they are so small, but they are so loud because people will read and contemplate and think in their closets about the things that you write that they may not even speak to other people about personally
Mm.
or face to
That's true. Yes, definitely. I agree. But I want to thank you. You left a wealth of information, and we definitely know you're passionate about authors. I just want to say thank you once again.
And thank you, Ty. And you keep doing what you're doing. I love your energy. I love the way you do things with excellence. And for all of your listeners, I just want them to know that if they've got a book in them, I am the literary midwife. Baby, let's go into the labor room and deliver that baby.
Amen. Let's do it. All right. Thank you once again for listening to the Literary Entrepreneur Podcast. You can listen to the official podcast feed on theliteraryentrepreneur.com or subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud.com, Spreaker.com, or you can find us on YouTube.com. Just as a reminder, I want to let you know before you leave us for today that you're more than an author. You are a literary entrepreneur. Writing and marketing books is a business. Let's learn how to attract readers to your books together.